What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Bat Flip, where we discuss everything baseballs. I'm Landon Raby. With me, Dylan Taylor, Caleb Mitchell producing for us. Tennessee drops another series to Florida, and but just when I thought the sweep was coming, here comes Drew Beam and Griffin Merritt to make sure that doesn't happen. And it's so weird. Like, this is the most confusing team in the world. They proved it the last two Saturdays, where they can dog stomp anybody, but they can also look like they did on Thursday and Friday night, where they're just not competitive. So, just a weird team. Don't really understand it. We're going to get into it a little bit. Dylan, I kind of want to get your take on this weekend.
Saturdays are for the Vols. Apparently, that's about
Yeah.
it's about all I can say because God knows Thursdays and Fridays haven't been the last 2 weeks.
Mhm.
It's confusing. We'll get into it.
Let's never play on Thursday again. Is that
Yeah,
fair? Just
I
don't do that.
in football too. It's not
Yeah.
appealing for any sport.
No.
But yeah, I've got one big thought that's kind of I think sums up the last 2 weeks. It's I know there's been some talk this weekend about, or ended this week about the starting pitching, and I kind of agree with some of the stuff I've seen on Twitter. It's just, I don't know. We'll get into it more, but I don't know. It's not the main theme I'm thinking of, but just something else. It's kind of what we said last week. It's nothing else. Nothing else is lining up at the same time. Like it's like something's working and something's not, and we've talked about it before. But to take these series, you've got to kind of have everything pumping at the same time, and we just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, just the inconsistency is so weird, and I think it's worse because basketball was the exact same way. So you get into baseball and you're kind of have that same thing, and you've been spoiled for the past 2 years. It's just weird to kind of grasp. Like, I mean, you have two All Americans starting pitchers, and they're just getting hammered. Burns looks like he's cruising, and then the bottom just falls out of it. Dolander kind of, it takes a while for him to get started. He's walking some guys, and he'll give up a walk, and then he can give up a bomb. So yeah, I think Florida's a really good baseball team. I'm not taking anything away from that, but Tennessee's got to be more competitive at the plate. I mean, bottom line, this weekend. Last weekend we were talking about the defense and how that kind of lost you the game. Yeah, the starting pitching on Thursday and Friday wasn't great. Defense didn't help it. You know, in that first inning, you're out of the inning. If you can field a ground ball at first base, you don't. And then, Dolander has to throw 25 more pitches. Neither one of those guys got out of the fourth inning, and it's a little concerning at this point. And so I think you do have to make a change because it's worked for you all season long. You look at Zane Denton a few weeks ago; he gets moved to the ninth hole. He hits for the cycle. Griffin Merritt sits on the bench, comes back. He pinch hits on Friday. Hits a laser in the center field, and then has 6 RBIs on Saturday for you. So he's definitely got a spot back in the lineup. So is this what we can see to maybe get a response out of some of these pitchers? Where, like, hey, Drew Beam, you're going on Friday, and this is the time to do that because you do have a longer rest period than you normally would after a Sunday to Friday night. So
The kind of big thing was I wish we could take last year's starting pitching and have those performances this year, and take the ones we're seeing this year and move it to last year, because last year you had the lineup to where just about every bad start, most of the time, you could cover it with just how insane and how lethal the lineup was last year.
yeah, it looks like we lost Dylan there. Try to get him back in a little bit. But yeah, 32 strikeouts in 2 games just isn't going to win you very many games at all in the SEC, and it's an issue. And the two strike approach on especially Friday and Saturday night, or Thursday night and Friday night. I mean, it was just abysmal, to be honest. I mean, it was just not competitive. I mean, Tony Vitello mentioned it after the game that they got to compete up there, and it's you got to. Um, just some weird stuff going. I mean, Christian Moore is one of your best hitters. He strikes out 4 times. Jared Dickey is another really great hitter. Strikes out 3 times. I mean, you had 18 strikeouts on Thursday night, and that's just kind of unlike this team in this program. And I don't really know what the issue has been. Looks like we got Dillon back. Welcome back, Dillon.
Back. Sorry about that. Just randomly cut out.
Yeah, you're good.
I don't know where you lost me at, but I was just talking about how frustrating it is just because, you kind of expected the lineup to maybe take a step back this year for a little while at least, and we've talked about, maybe this is the best time to be going through those struggles, but it's frustrating from the pitching perspective because everybody's a year older. And it's like if you could do this last year, kind of where does the drop off lie this year? So that was before I cut out. That was just kind of
Yeah.
just the frustrations, the main part that I don't understand.
Yeah, and kind of leading into that, I was talking about how like uncompetitive we were. We looked at the plate. I mean, just the 2 strike approach. I mean, it's so middle school to say like, hey, if you got 2 strikes on you, got to protect. Anything close, you got to swing at. And Tennessee just didn't do that. And I know there were some times where maybe it was too far off the plate, but there's other times we're arguing calls. You look at the replay, it's over the plate. I mean, you gotta swing it. And if that's your kind of 2 strike approach, you got to make those 2 pitches before that count. And Tennessee just didn't do that, and they did a lot better of that on Saturday. I don't know what the difference was, but even in the pouring down rain, Tennessee looked a lot better at the plate for some reason.
And you've got to know with professional umpires, you're gonna see calls like that. So especially with college umpires, and it's like you're saying, like I don't think we've talked before about the reputation. Like you hope that doesn't play a part in it, but at a certain point, like if it's a strike, it's a strike. Like and those borderline pitches, you got to know you're probably not going to get a lot of those calls this year.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't understand, and we didn't see that last year either because it seems like every borderline pitch we were swinging at anyway and either fouling off or putting it in play. And this year it's swinging and missing is one thing at those borderline pitches. You can change the mentality then, but right now the mentality is just like, why aren't we getting these calls? And it's like you haven't all year. So at a certain point, it's like you're talking about with pitching, like maybe a change has got to happen. Like I'd rather go down swinging any day. That's much less frustrating, and it's just if you're going to make a deep run, so you might as well swing at them now. And if you strike out, hey, big deal. But at least work on trying to put those balls in play because you're not going to get everything fat over the plate later in the season when you're in Omaha. So you've got to get the work in on those pitches right now.
Yeah, Tennessee can't afford to be striking out at the plate so much. I mean, you had 18 on Thursday, 14 on Friday, and then you only had 6 on Saturday. Again, I don't know. I mean, I know they walked the crap out of Tennessee, and that had a lot to do with what the score looked like because Tennessee only had 7 hits, and 14 runs. But I mean, they just looked more comfortable at the plate. And again, maybe it was the pitching. Maybe they knew they weren't going to throw strikes. But yeah, I just and then pitching wise, it seems like we're getting guys 0-2 counts, and then we're challenging them by throwing something over the plate. And you challenge some of these hitters, they'll make you pay 488 feet like they did on Friday. Um, and I know that's going to be another talk, or we can kind of get into it, I guess. Um, I don't have a problem with the bat flip. If you hit something 488 feet, you absolutely deserved it.
Oh
I
yeah.
wouldn't have done it. And the only reason why I wouldn't have done it is because I would never even get close to hitting a ball that far.
No, I don't think most human beings would. So it's kind of one of those things like you get the crowd. It's like act like you've been there before. Well, it's like most human beings haven't been in that position before. So it's kind of whatever you want to do. I'm fine with it. Like short of killing someone on the field, like any type of response is going to be like, yeah, that I'd probably do the same thing if I was in that position. But
Mhm.
it's yeah, you talk about getting people in 0-2 counts. I don't understand the mentality there either. Like you clearly see the stuff is still there because it's like, oh, you're getting a lot of people in 0-2 counts, but then it's just like, I don't. I think maybe part of it was the surprise factor, like last year, like getting people in 0-2 counts, and then hitters against Chase Burns are like, oh, he's a freshman, he's going to make a mistake right here, and it's like, well, no, he could still pump 98 by you. Like, well, now they know you're going to try to do that. So at a certain point, it's going to be like, hey, bury one in the dirt right here. You still got you got 3 balls to work with here. Like you don't have to worry about getting that one, especially when the bullpen is as good as it is. Like,
Sure.
if you're worried about a high pitch count, don't be. If you get into Tennessee's bullpen, you're going to be fine there. So again, I think it's more of a mentality thing, and I don't know why the mentality. I don't know if it's coming from the coaching staff, the mentality, or I don't know if they're telling them like, "Hey guys, why are you doing this?" And it's still just
Yeah, I think he cut out again. I mean, yeah, I mean, you gotta figure out like he was saying there's great pitchers in the bullpen. I mean, we didn't even get to half of them. I don't even know why Camden Sewell is not playing against Florida. That just baffles me. I think he was coming in if we were going to play in the ninth inning, but still, got to find a way to get him on the field. Definitely love to see him against Florida. I mean, Aaron Combs, good God, that dude just comes in, just freaking balls hanging and strikes out Langford and Cags right off the rip. I mean, he was disgusting. I want to see more of Aaron Combs. You got Andrew. You didn't even pitch Zach Joyce or Wyatt Evans. I mean, yeah, like you was saying, like you definitely have so many arms in the bullpen. I don't know why we're challenging hitters like, and it's so weird to argue like, hey, Tennessee's throwing too many strikes because that's a weird thing to kind of say, but it kind of feels that way. Like you said, bury some in the dirt every once in a while. There ain't nothing wrong with that. If he chases it, great. And you're probably going to get a lot of chase because they're thinking it's coming over the plate with an 0-2 count now.
at this point, especially, yeah, like they're sitting middle, and that's 488 feet then, or 483, whatever it was. I mean, if it's coming in that hard, I know we were talking before I apparently dropped again about like, we don't think we could do that, but at a certain point, no matter who it is, they're not going to miss that for very long if they know where it's coming. Like, I I'd have a hard time catching up to 98, but eventually, like, again, we're not Division 1 baseball players. Like, you tell
Yeah,
them where it's coming, you may still get it by them a couple times, but not the Florida lineup, and especially not LSU.
yeah, yeah. Just and then let's talk about the lineup a little bit. It kind of differ, and it just seems like it's ever changing. Guys in slumps, guys coming out of slumps. Guys emerge. They go back, and it's just a lot of different things. No, Maui doesn't play Friday or Saturday. Back issue. I don't know if I believe that, but whatever. He wasn't playing, and so you got Jake Kendrow on Friday, and then Saturday you got Austin Jaslove. I mean, I kind of like the lineup of like that we had on Saturday. I like Jared Dickey leading off. Also like Jared Dickey not having to catch every game. I think Cal Stark. I would love for him to catch fire. I mean, he seems to be like a ball of energy. I'd love to see kind of him and kind of his fire and intensity back there, and him at the plate. And then you kind of go from there. You go if you want to go Christian Moore or Hunter Inslee to kind of break up, that however you want to do that lefty righty stuff. And then Griffin Merritt has inserted himself back into it. You got to.
I'm fine with whoever has the hot hand right now, because it's yeah, like you said, until we find guys that can do it consistently. I mean, you're not taking Blake Burke out. Like,
No.
let's be real. There's
And
certain
he's the
guys.
only one, I think, besides Christian Scott, who hit the ball on Thursday.
Yeah, him. You're not taking Dickey out. Very there are very few guys, but there are a few guys that it's like, if they're struggling, you're going to let them struggle. But you get to the point where you're at now, where I mean, this is what, 3 SEC series losses.
Mhm.
You're not going to put up with that much longer. So it's whoever's going to go up first thing. Whoever's going to go up there and swing the bat right now should be in, and anybody that provides any type of spark, they should be in. So, I mean, we've talked for the last couple of weeks about our ideal lineups, who it would be where. Right now, my ideal lineup is, can you hit the ball? And are you going to swing at close pitches? Yes and yes. Well, you're in the lineup. So
Yeah, I mean
simple as that.
the looking at strike three, man, that's rough. It's hard to watch too. I mean, sitting there all weekend, I'm just like, good. I mean, I could go up there and swing. I'm not going to hit anything, but
Right.
I'm going to at least
At least
try.
it looks like you
Yeah,
tried.
I mean, you give yourself a chance, right? Even if you're, I mean, you give yourself a chance. They have to field it, throw it, whatever. They have to get you out. So, put a little bit of pressure on them. If you're just up there just taking strike three, I mean, that's easy and you're giving that pitcher, just more confidence.
Maybe a low blow here, but maybe we need a low blow. If it's anything like we've seen Tennessee's fielding be so far, and a lot of the fielding around the SEC, like anything in play, you could get on base on. So I don't
You're right.
understand why you're
Yeah.
not trying to put anything in play. Like,
Hmm.
and you've got a legitimate gripe if it's a foot and a half off the plate. Okay, like you've got complaints there. 4 inches off the plate, though, you got to understand some of those calls are just going to go against you. Like these, we know my disdain for umpires, but at a certain point, like it is a hard job. They're not going to get everyone right, and the more that you complain about those close calls, the less likely they are to go in your favor. And I think we've seen that.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not perfect, and you're not perfect either. So let's, don't make them ring you up.
Yeah, make them make a play. If they make
Yep.
the play, hats off. I'd rather go down that way.
So are you changing the rotation this weekend?
Yeah, Beams leading off now. I
I
just
think so too.
something's got to change because at a certain point, like we talked about, it's a mentality thing now. Like you got the stuff, but somebody needs a day off or skip a start, change up the order. Something's got to be done.
Yeah. I do. We did have a question here. Has there been improvement on Blake's game from last year to this year, batting wise? I would say it's around. I mean, he had limited at bats last year. Everybody expects him to hit a home run when he comes up to the plate every single time, especially if there's somebody on base. They're like, "Here it comes! Here it comes!" And he's going to do a lot of those, but I would like to see him make better contact. He's rolling over on some, and he gets fooled on off speed stuff. I mean, it happens, but he's a guy that's going to put some pressure on uh, opposing pitchers and opposing defenses. I mean, they shift to him every time. Here's another thing about the shift: Tennessee needs to play a little bit of small ball here. They got some athletes. Christian Scott, Hunter Inslee. Some of those lefties. I mean, they have three guys on the right side. Like, why are we not trying to bunt down third base and at least making them respected a little bit?
It goes back to what we were just talking about, changing the rotation up. Like, do it. Like, it's clear that the mentality and I guess not really the standard of play, but the style of play from the last year or two, it's not going to be the same with this team. So try everything. And as far as Blake goes, I mean, I don't think there's really been improvement or gotten worse. I think we're just seeing a full sample size of him now. Like this
Mm-hmm.
is a normal season with normal at bats. So
Well, and I think it helped him out a lot last year. Like, hitting is contagious.
yeah,
So when everybody, in front of you and behind you is hitting the baseball, it's a lot easier to go up there and hack. But if they're not, pressure is kind of on you to make something happen. And, he does a lot of the time, but you can't expect him to go up there and hit a home run every single time he comes up to the plate.
he was a nice surprise complimentary piece last year. Now there's an element of when you think about it that way of there's an element of a lot of people are thinking he's got to be the man. Like I think he's lived up to that pretty well so far. Like he's not
Mhm.
setting the world on fire like he was last year, but I mean that was a historic pace last year. So and not everybody hits the ball as much as Dylan Cruz. They're two different type of hitters too. So I mean
Right.
it may be in the minority saying it, but I think he's probably in terms of disappointment or overachieving. I think he's still probably overachieved a little bit this year, just because there's been times where he's the only one hitting it, and he's still done that pretty well. And this is just a full season for him now, so I've he's way down on the list of in terms of
Concern.
yeah. And
Yeah.
do they need to step it up?
Yeah,
He's way
definitely
down
not
there.
hitting the panic button. I mean, he looked on Thursday night. He was your best player. And
And you
I know he had that error, but he also came in the next inning and hit one over the batter's eye. So, um, you know, again, you can't expect him to do everything, but he was kind of your everything that you were able to put up on Thursday night.
and I agree with you. If and when we start seeing everybody consistently hit around him, I think you'll see him take it up to a new level too.
Yeah,
Because
100%.
then he becomes the
Because at one point
Travis
he was
Tribe.
batting him like 430
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Um, obviously going against you know guys like Florida and Texas A&M and LSU, like that. Your batting average isn't. You're not going to hit 440 unless you're probably Dylan Cruz, but or Florida's lineup. Good God, let's talk about Florida's lineup a little bit. Their 1 through 5 batters. Where in the hell did they breed them? Our guys look tiny compared to Florida's. I mean, and not just like in stature, just like those, like Wyatt Langford, he is massive and he's a leadoff. I
He
mean, I
also
don't
may be
know.
your number
They
one
have to
pick.
cut their sleeves because, I mean, their sleeves like barely fit around their arms.
Yeah, Langford may also be your number one pick. I've stated I'd like Cruz, but Wyatt Langford looks like a big leaguer right now,
Oh
like the
my
same
God.
way
I mean,
Jordan Beck did last year. Like
yeah, I mean,
he
I was
looks
like,
like a major leaguer donning an SEC uniform.
they look like they're on the Mike Trout program. I mean, it was insane. And like, I feel like it only helped them because I mean, a small ballpark, you want to have, yeah, they are juicing. Let's get that going. But yeah, a small ballpark, I'm sure they were licking their chops coming in here. Being that big and playing in a small park like that, definitely.
There's also the mindset of knowing that the other team's kind of wounded. Like that makes for really good players that makes them step it up even more. I
Yeah,
think they probably view Tennessee as a wounded team right now, and they're like, oh, that going into a we say small park with the a little sarcasm, but at the same time, like knowing that the starters have been struggling, like, hey, if we come out and jump on them, like they're down for the count. Then they're really great players, and they have a lot of them. See that and say, hey, that's easy money for us.
yeah, yeah. It's and the whole bat flip with Caglion. I mean, I saw something on Twitter and somebody was like, "It's so sick him flipping his bat in front of one of the cockiest programs in college baseball." I mean, like you can't like he earned that bat flip. I don't think any Tennessee fan was mad that he did it. They shouldn't be. I mean, good God, you didn't even see it after it left the park. It landed in the river, right next to the goalpost. It was right there. Um, but I just don't understand why people continue to like harp on like Tennessee as this cocky program, and it's cool when they can bat flip, but we're a cocky program when we do it. I just don't understand the concept. I guess it's just like Tennessee is just must see TV that everybody just hates it because of it. I mean, LSU the box set a record for attendance when Tennessee came in. I'm sure Arkansas will do the same thing this weekend. I mean, they want Tennessee's number, and I just don't understand like how none of these programs are cocky. We're the only one that's cocky
I think
because we bat flip.
And I don't understand why it's like this, but I think a lot of it comes down to Vitello because like you see Saban gets a lot of hate, but a lot of that too is yeah they win, yeah they've been dominant, but a lot of that too is some people just don't think Nick Saban is a genuinely good human being. They're like, hey, he's the old crusty guy that's mad at the world. I understand that. You've seen the same thing with other older coaches. I don't understand the hate for Vitello then because he's the guy that's young, energetic. Like you would think people would really latch on to him. Now I get rival fan bases are going to hate everything that you do, but a lot of the national media, I don't understand that because you look in college basketball at Eric Musselman, who is a younger guy that kind of burst on the scene like that. It seems like everybody loves him. Dude ripped his shirt off after a game.
After
Like,
winning the round of 32.
yeah, like, and everybody celebrates that. If Vitello does that, there's only people in Knoxville, Tennessee that are going to love that. Then you've got the national media that wants to jump on him for doing that. So I don't understand the clear double standard. If it's an older coach who has the reputation of like Saban does of being short with report, have we ever heard Tony Vitello be short with any media member before? Not
No,
not that I remember.
and he's like one of the most complimentary guys with the media to opposing coaches and teams and even his players. I mean, he always has their backs. I just don't understand the hate other than, he chest bumped a moron that was, after his starting pitcher gets drilled after they're tipping pitches. He chest bumped and he took his suspension, and I just don't I just don't understand the hate.
Which
The hate is because
honestly,
they ain't us. Is that what it is?
it made me like him even more. Like
Yeah.
so I don't understand. Yeah, I don't
Also,
understand.
if Coach V is taking his shirt off like Musselman, there's no doubt in my mind that Lindsey Nelson is going to break a record for attendance that next game. If there's
Like
a chance that Tony Vitello is taking his shirt off, imagine the women that are going to come out of the woodworks to buy a ticket for that.
I do not like Dave Van Horn. I don't like him at all for a lot of the reasons that I mentioned.
Nick
I
Saban.
don't dislike Saban, but I'm not a huge fan of him. Now, if Dave Van Horn has a legitimate complaint with an umpire, especially one with a handlebar mustache, wearing the most ridiculous pair of sunglasses, and he goes and bumps an umpire, that's gonna make me like him a little more, just because you're not afraid to do something like that. So
Yeah.
at a certain point, I think it became cool to hate on Tennessee, which I don't know why that happened again, and it became more of a mob mentality than actually true feelings. That if you take every national person's opinion out of it, I don't think you'd see that same thing. So I don't understand it either.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. It's been us against the world, and it always has been. And baseball just kind of increased that even more. So whatever. I don't care.
I mean, have we ever? I, we've talked about this before, like watching Tennessee baseball before it was cool too. When there was barely anybody in the stands. Do you ever remember, not even bringing up Tennessee specifically here, but I guess I indirectly kind of am. Do you ever remember as much talk around the college baseball season as there was last year? Whether it was good or bad focused on Tennessee, do you ever remember that much talk about college baseball? Like, so I kind
No,
of like,
and Angel Reese at LSU is talking about how she put women's basketball on the map. I mean, there is a legit argument that Tennessee baseball put college baseball on the map.
yeah. And I like that comment that they put us in every highlight and talk negative about us. Like, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get it.
Want your cake and eat it too. All right. I don't have a lot more. I mean, Tennessee needs to find some consistency all around. I mean, defense, starting pitching, lineup, and hopefully they're able to figure it out soon because, I mean, number one, it doesn't get any easier. And number two, we're sitting here at this it's April. Like it's getting close to getting time where teams are trying to make a run and thinking about the postseason. And Tennessee's they got to find a way to get to Hoover and make a regional. I think they should, but they got to win some ball games to do that.
This weekend's massive. And I know we've said the last, 3 weekends now. It's like, man, it'd really be nice to get it going this week. I hate Florida more than any other school in the SEC, just in every sport. That's just they've been Bama's been dominant in a lot of things since I've been watching sports. Florida thinks they're dominant in a lot of things since I've been watching sports. So I understand the hate for Florida. But in baseball, like Vitello is going to come out against Arkansas ready to go. And it just seems like we've talked about it. It seems like there's been times this year where the team just kind of looks dead. They don't. There doesn't look like there's any juice.
Mm-hmm.
Winning this series is big, but looking like you want to be there is even bigger. Like,
yeah, especially in your home stadium, there's no reason why Florida should, have more amp or life to them than you. I mean, Florida absolutely looked like they wanted to be there, even if it was cold. And they're from Florida. Like, I mean, cold should maybe bother them a little bit, but they weren't bothered in the slightest, and it looked like it bothered Tennessee.
And I understand,
and even if it didn't, it's what it looked like, and
right.
I wasn't the only one that saw that. So
I understand that it's deflating, especially when you give up 4 in the first inning. Like before you even really get a couple times through the lineup, you're down 7 runs, something like that. Like that's hard to have a spark, but at the same time, like if you lose one of the early games this series, like okay, but let it be like a 5-4 game, like where you're in it till the last at bat. Don't let it be like these early games where it's just like they jump out to a lead and we're just dead in the water from there. Like that's been the most frustrating part to me is like last year you never felt like you were out of the game. This year there's been many first, second games of the series where it's 4th inning and I'm like, is there much of a point of watching the rest of this? Because there's just it looks dead. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if I'm the only one, but it's just I don't know. Losing sucks, but losing and just not ever really thinking you got a chance to get back in it, that's deflating.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like you weren't competitive on Thursday and Friday. And then it doesn't make any sense because Saturday you come out and beat their brains in.
Yeah, it looked like easy work. Like I don't get it.
Yeah, and here's another thing about that. Like you're playing well on Saturdays right now. Do you throw Drew Beam on Saturday this week? Because you play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Do you put him Saturday, and then maybe Burns back on Friday, and Dolander on Sunday? Do you switch it up that way, or you just go Beam? You're the guy on Friday.
I started off with Beam.
Okay. Yeah.
You're winning games with him right now. The first game of any series is the biggest one. I mean, obviously, if you're tied, you want to win the last one, but you don't get there without winning one before then. And winning the first one's big because it puts all the pressure on the other team. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I know somebody said, are the guys playing too nonchalant, acting like they should just be there? I don't even think it's a nonchalant thing. I just think it's like they don't mentally seem like they're there. It's not like a lazy factor. It's just like their head's somewhere else. That's the only way I know to describe it.
Yeah, and we had a comment about errors on here as well. I mean, errors weren't the issue this week. Now they came at really like bad times, trying to get out of the inning and stuff like that. But only 2 errors. You had 6 last weekend. There was that improvement. I mean, your All-American shortstop has to be a better shortstop. He's made some plays. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. And he's made some plays. I'm like, how did you not make that play? So I mean, I don't know like what he's looking like day to day. But Austin Jaslov, I mean, he was playing a good shortstop before Maui came in, and so I kind of like him at short. I mean, the kid just looks smooth.
Yeah,
like real smooth. So
everything for Maui right now looks like he's just.
It looks tough.
He doesn't look
like he's going 1 for 4, but like it's like in most games, but and like that's not terrible. But for a leadoff guy that's leading the team in strikeouts, That can't happen. And he's played 8 less games. That can't happen.
It's like you see guys coming back from a major injury where like they're not sure of themselves at first. Like,
Mhm.
you can tell they kind of they want to do it. Or it's like a pitcher coming back from Tommy John. Like, those first few balls he's gonna throw, it's like, what's gonna happen here? Like that's kind of how he's been lately. It's like
Yeah,
it,
and
it
you
kind of
absolutely see the talent there
yeah,
all the time, but it's like, I mean, again, just like this team, he's got to find some consistency if he wants to be out there.
it goes back to the nonchalant question where it's like, well, no, I don't really think it's that or laziness. It's just like they it's just like I don't know. Like I don't know how this throw to first is gonna go. I don't know how the swing is gonna be. It's like, well, at a certain point, like
Everything looks overanalyzed.
it's the big cat gif. It's figure it out. Like
Yeah, yeah. He
it's
just
if you
needs to.
can't, like, then step aside. Like let somebody else figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it was good to see Griffin Merritt get back going. I think
It
that's huge
was.
for this lineup. Having a guy like that in the middle, inserted somewhere, that can get guys in. I mean, that's what they need that. Top of the lineup, I feel like it should do their thing. Again, I like Jared Dickey as a leadoff. I just think, as good of a hitter as he is, I think he needs to be in that top. I like him at fifth as well. But if you got Griffin Merritt and Zane Denton's hitting pretty well, I don't feel like it's a sure thing, or I don't feel like you have to have him in the middle of the lineup. I like him at the front. Also, like Hunter Inslee continues to, he doesn't give you any reason why he shouldn't be out there.
No. He there are very few guys I can say right now that look like SEC baseball players, just like just about everything they do. He's one of them,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't, you don't want to say isn't good because, like, you would hope that he would, but at a certain point, like, you would hope that in this lineup, he would be like the seventh or eighth guy that you would say that about. Right now, he's third, maybe that
Yeah.
comes to mind. I mean, Dickey and Burke are the only two that I can consistently say, like, they look professional in a lot of things that they do. But Inslee is right there with them now.
And I think Dylan Dryling could be that way too. I think getting him kind of at the bottom of the lineup would really help the bottom of the lineup kind of pick up the pace a little bit, just because he is a guy that he's going to put it in play. He might not always get a hit, but he doesn't strike out a lot either.
No, he would be a perfect. We talked about somebody hitting in the nine hole just to start off when you're not getting anything out of the leadoff spot, but put him nine, put Dickey at one, and just have two professional hitters back to back there.
Yeah,
See if you can get something started from the bottom of the order.
yeah, I'd love to see it. Well, that's kind of all I got. Fayetteville this weekend going to be tough. They're a really good program. Can hit the ball. Brody Slavin's still there. I don't know how. That's another thing. Tennessee is young. That lineup that they put out, especially on Thursday or Friday with Jake Kendrow. You had Kavaris Tears. Both those guys are freshmen. Kavaris Tears is a redshirt freshman. Dylan Drawling is a freshman. Then you got sophomores in Blake Berg and Christian Moore. I think Dickey is a redshirt sophomore. So I mean, this team is young, and I feel like I didn't really think about that until I saw how big Florida was, and I was like, "Good God, like who are these people?" But Tennessee does have a young line. Hunter Inslee, I think, is a sophomore. So I mean, you have a good kind of core group there that should be back next year. And I know we're not looking at next year, but looking at the future of the program, I think it is kind of well in hand. You do have Burns and Beam back next year as well. So
Yeah, there's still no reason to hit the panic button on anything because let's be honest, if they lose every game the rest of the year, like Vitello's not getting fired. Like it's not
right,
that like that would suck. I mean, because that means you're losing to like Eastern Kentucky, but at the same time, like it's all going to be okay. Like it's we thought this team was going to be better, but I don't think this is just like unforeseen territory. Like they're not
sure.
awful. It's
Yeah, they're still a number. They're the number 16 team in the country. I mean,
right.
we would die 5 or 6 years ago if this team was ranked 16th in the country. Like that would be incredible. But we have been spoiled, and so it is like people are out on this team, and you see stuff on Twitter like that all the time. It's Tennessee's got to get going. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think there's any reason why this team can't win a regional.
For me, it's still just the same statement of I don't know what this team is yet. Like
Mhm.
it's just we know they're not bad, but we know they're just not great right now. So
Yeah, and there's pieces like the starting pitching. At some point,
it's got to.
yeah,
You
it's
got the
got to
best
get
pitching
going.
coach in the country too. Like
Right.
he's going to figure it out eventually. You just
Yeah.
hope it's not when your lineup decides to go on a streak of scoring 2 runs a game. Like you're not going to win that way.
Yeah. And I think some of it is like, no offense to Jared Dickey. I mean, he was hurt during the offseason, so he didn't catch a whole lot. But Tennessee has kind of been screwed by like not having a like legit catcher.
Yeah, guys need to establish if Stark is Beam's guy, roll with it because I think we can all confidently say he's got a better bat than Charlie Taylor. So if it comes down to this guy as this guy's catcher, do that to just establish some chemistry. It
Mhm.
would be perfect in an ideal world where you got the same guy that runs out there every game, and he
Sure.
gets an off day every couple weeks against a midweek opponent. But at this point, that's Cal Stark for me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, can he do it consistently? So
Right.
it's just that you're stuck there.
All right, let's get into MVP real quick. I think it's my turn to go first. Is that right? Did you go first last
Yeah,
time?
go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to go Drew Beam. Got to. 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. I mean, he was dominant. That lineup is not easy to go through, and he shoved it for 7 innings.
Yeah, I feel like he was the obvious choice. I want to go Merritt just because it's good to see him back, and I specifically have talked about how important I think he is to the lineup. If he's humming along, I'll go Stark though, just because it's funny because you mentioned it earlier. He looked like he wanted to be there, like
Yep.
he had the spark and he had the energy, like, and he backed it up. So probably a very close second. Griffin Merritt there, but I'll go Stark just because I hope. Again, I feel like I've said this till I'm blue in the face, but I hope this is the run for a guy like him. Like I hope maybe all love to Charlie, but maybe he takes hold of the spot and doesn't give it up now. And that's another position where like with Inslee, Dickey, Burke, you kind of write it in Sharpie then.
Yep. Yeah, I like the fire he brings. Also, kind of funny story. So I was in the MVP room on Saturday, and it was pouring down rain, and your boy is just not cut out
With
for the
with or
cold and
without
rain.
nachos.
There was nachos involved. Yes,
Okay.
there was.
Okay. Just make sure.
And there will be nachos tomorrow, so all y'all can relax. But it started raining like after the 6th inning, so I like go out and was just going to go to my seat. Well, Drew Beam's parents saw me come out, and they told me to go back in because they didn't want to jinx it. And I did come out. He did give up a 2-run home run, so that is partially my fault. But also, like, if that's my fault, I also want to take credit for the rest of that game. So,
Well, I would just say the simple formula for anybody watching this is bring a bag of tortilla chips to your next game at Lindsey Nelson,
there you
give
go.
them to Landon,
Yeah.
provide him with maybe a comfortable seat.
Actually, let's everybody do it. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm rowing the boat here, but like I need some help. So if everybody else wants to
You're
do
just
it,
going in circles. You're paddling one way.
somebody did mention they're like somebody shorted you on chips. I'm like, yeah, that was me because your boy is gaining some weight during baseball season, trying to keep this team afloat. So I can't do it all by myself. I need some help. So please, if you need some nachos, just let me know. I got you.
Maybe you can spell the guys at catcher. Just put the gear on when it's June out there. You'll drop some pounds quick. Then you need
Yeah,
all
maybe
you
I
need all
should
the tortilla
like
chips in the
catch a
world.
bullpen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be terrifying. I did not want to do that.
We talked about you coming on mulching with nice sweat. Like
Yeah, I
do
I
your
was
mulching and
mulching.
catcher's
It was
gear.
as soon as I got home, my wife was out there doing yard work. She was, I think after she got off today, so I felt bad. So I immediately went to Lowe's, got some mulch, and started getting after it. So domesticated is what it
Just
is.
strap the gear on next time. Just
All right,
your neighbors may think that you're dealing with explosives in the yard, but that's a small price to pay.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for listening. We'll see you back next week. We got more important issues back on Thursday. Got a special guest. So don't mention that. Caleb does want me to mention that Kevin O'Sullivan is 2 for 3 in home runs during his coaching interview. It seems to always happen. I don't understand.
I didn't see that. Advanced stats.
Stop the coaching interviews. Stop them right now. Unless you're doing Tony Vitello and him doing Mike Honcho. That was the best one of all time. So maybe that's why they keep doing it. They're in hopes that it's going to continue to do that. We'll see. Guys, thanks again. We'll see you back, and peace.